just like youth in America, youth in Russia, a huge country of 11 time zones, they are not a monolithic group. What we do know is that they are cable cutters like your generation here, which is a problem for Putin because his kind of main population control is the TV. And it's one of the first things he took control of when he became president, and it's how most Russians still get their news and information, and they trust the TV, and they even think the TV is allowed to lie to them if it's in the interest of the state. Something like 84% of Russians think this. But young Russians, Russians your age, are not watching TV, and they've never watched TV. They're watching YouTube, they're on Telegram, they're on various other social networks, they're on Instagram. Once they're out of the state education system, there's kind of no way for the state to propagandize to them, which is a problem. On the other hand, some surveys came out about the rehabilitation of the image of Joseph Stalin, who killed like dozens of millions of people in the Soviet Union. The people who liked him the most were the young people. So just because people are young and just because they might not like Vladimir Putin doesn't mean they're necessarily liberal and Western. And there are a lot of them in the big cities, especially among the educated classes. And on my recent research trips there, I was shocked to find them talking about gender and class and race in ways that I think you would recognize. You know, they're saying like, you're a cisgendered privileged white male, and this is toxic, это токсичная маскулинность, which I think you can understand, toxic masculinity, right? So there's a group of young people that are having those conversations in language that we would recognize, and then there's young people who like Stalin. So the question is, who wins out? The other problem is that we in the West love to fetishize young people because they are generally the people who go out in the streets and protest, because young people, especially young men, don't have fully developed brains and don't understand no, scientific fact. Like the part where you figure out, you know, consequences is not formed yet, right? When you're like 16, 17. So we love fetishizing young people abroad, like, oh, the college students will save us. We love doing it here. The Parkland students will save us from these 14 and 15-year-olds are going to save us from the laws that the baby boomers passed. Thanks a lot. Why don't the baby boomers fix that, right? Like the reliance that the teenagers are going to fix everything that the adults fucked up is kind of weird. The problem with that is there's a very small window for that, because young people have this thing where they get older, and that part of their brain fills in, and then they get a job, and then they maybe get married and have a kid, and they don't want to lose their job because they have a mortgage and they have to provide for their kid, and they run into the law a couple times, or they see somebody else run into it and they realize what it can do for their future, and they decide, you know what, I'd rather stay home. And this happened, for example, to my generation, which were the people who protested in 2011, 2012. They don't go out and protest anymore. They're older, they're all in their 30s now, they have kids, and their protest didn't work. So they're like, well, screw that. I'm gonna buy some more Apple products and travel abroad and some Nike shoes, or they call them Nike. So you know, I think it's interesting to watch the youth. Also, another interesting data point, a lot of the young people there was a lot of young people who could vote for the first time in March 2018, a year ago. They were people who were born when Putin was first elected, and they don't know anything other than Putin. For some of them, they can't imagine anything other than Putin, and for some of them, they're so sick of him that he's background noise, and he doesn't even register to them, and they just want something different entirely, or they just stay out of politics entirely because they're so sick of him.